I'd like to preface this video with a trigger warning for mentions of depression, anxiety, and self-harm/suicide. If you or a loved one suffers from depression or suicidal thoughts, numbers for support lines will be in the description. Depression. I'm sure that means a lot of things to a lot of people. The word itself may bring a feeling of dread or sadness. It may bring in memories of oneself or their loved ones. I personally suffer from depression and anxiety, so I'm very passionate about the subject. However, this video will not focus on how it feels to live with depression. Maybe another day, but not now. Today, I'm going to discuss the different kinds of depression and anxiety and how they can affect teenagers today. I want to get something clear. If you have a few of the symptoms that I mentioned in this video, this does not mean you have these chronic mental illnesses. If you really believe something is quote-unquote wrong with you, you should see a doctor or a psychiatrist. There are many different kinds of depression one can have. The most common form of this is major depressive disorder. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, this illness can be identified through these symptoms: an overwhelming feeling of sadness or a loss of interest in activities the patient previously enjoyed, a decrease or increase in appetite, insomnia or hypersomnia / the inability to get sleep or good sleep, or the inability to wake up easily, psychomotor agitation or retardation, constant fatigue, feelings of worthlessness or excessive inappropriate guilt, recurrent thoughts of death and suicidal ideation with or without specific plans to commit suicide, symptoms persisting for 2 weeks or longer and represent a significant change from previous functioning. Social, occupational, educational, or other important functioning is also impacted. For instance, the person may start missing work or school, or stop going to classes or their usual social activities. Another type is persistent depressive disorder, or dysthymia. For the individual to receive the diagnosis of PDD, they should also have 2 of the diagnostic symptoms, which include a low, dark, or sad mood that is persistently present for most of the day and on most days for at least 2 years. Children or adolescents may experience predominantly irritability, or the mood persists for at least 1 year. Poor appetite or overeating, insomnia or hypersomnia, low energy or fatigue, low self-esteem, poor concentration, difficulty making decisions, or feelings of hopelessness. During this period, any symptom-free intervals last no longer than 2 months. The symptoms are not as severe as with major depression. Major depressive disorder may come before persistent depressive disorder, or major depression episodes may occur during persistent depression episodes. However, the symptoms of MDD are more severe than PDD, making the 2 types of the illness different. Depression affects more women than men, and there's a whole kind of depression that affects only people with a uterus and is still going through your ovulation cycle, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. PMDD is a severe extension of premenstrual syndrome, or PMS, and can disrupt social, occupational, and other important areas of functioning. Symptoms begin 7 to 10 days before the start of menstrual period and continue for the first few days of the period. This is characterized by emotional and behavioral symptoms that are more severe, such as sadness or hopelessness, anxiety or tension, extreme moodiness, and irritability or anger. Some medical conditions can trigger depressive symptoms in individuals. This phenomenon is depressive disorder due to another medical condition. Endocrine and reproductive system disorders are commonly associated with depressive symptoms. People with hypothyroidism or experiencing low levels of thyroid hormone often experience fatigue, weight gain, irritability, memory loss, low mood, and when the hypothyroidism is treated, it usually reduces the depression. Other conditions that have been found to cause depression include conditions such as HIV/AIDS, diabetes, strokes, Parkinson's disease, etc. While some of these disorders last for a long time, seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, only lasts periodically. The symptoms of major depressive disorder are only during a specific time of the year, usually winter, and appears to be related to the shorter days of winter. According to McGill University, major depression affects 3 to 5% of children and adolescents, and up to 15% of children and adolescents will have symptoms of depression. 5% of 9 to 17-year-olds meet the criteria for having major depressive disorder. In addition, about 2/3 of children have another mental disorder along with depression. These facts are concerning because mental health disorders such as these lead to suicide or suicidal thoughts. Youth suicidal behavior is mainly caused by major depressive disorder. Not to mention, more than 70% of youths will not receive proper treatment or diagnosis. Depression isn't the only almost too common disorder in youth today. Anxiety affects 1 in 8 children. According to ADAA, Untreated children with anxiety disorders are at a higher risk to perform poorly in school, miss out on important social events, and engage in substance abuse. Anxiety can come in many forms and can come in many different causes. A very common form of anxiety is generalized anxiety disorder. People with GAD will worry about things like school and family more so than the average person. They tend to be overly harsh on themselves and strive for perfection. They will also seek for approval or reassurance of themselves constantly. Separation anxiety disorder happens to many children between 18 months and 3 years old, when it is normal for the child to be upset when the parent leaves the room. If the child has separation anxiety, which affects 4% of children, when they're a bit older, they will experience excessive anxiety when away from loved ones or their home. They may also refuse to go to school, camp, or sleep over, demand that someone stay with them when they go to sleep, and commonly will worry about bad things happening to their parents or have a vague sense of something bad happening while they're apart. Social anxiety or social phobia can be identified by an intense fear of social or performance situations and activities like starting a conversation, being called on in class, or presenting something in front of a group. OCD or obsessive compulsive disorder is identified by intrusive thoughts or obsessions and feeling like the patient must repeatedly perform rituals and routines to ease their anxiety. Boys will tend to be diagnosed with OCD before puberty, while girls will not be until adolescence. Most children are diagnosed around 10 years of age. Post-traumatic stress disorder / PTSD patients will have an intense fear or anxiety, become numb emotionally or irritable very easily, and avoid people, places, or activities after experiencing or seeing a traumatic event. Not every child who has a traumatic event in their life will develop PTSD. Many will recover from the event in a relatively short time. Depression and anxiety may be related, and many people have both mental illnesses, myself included. However, they're not the same. Not everyone who has depression will have an anxiety disorder, and not everyone who has an anxiety disorder will have depression. Living with depression is really hard. Sometimes you'll feel like you might be truly happy, and that same day you'll be unable to breathe because of your tears as you lay in bed. That's how it worked for me. I constantly feel drained, tired, and numb. There are not many instances where I feel like I'm truly happy. Sometimes I won't even go to school due to my mental health. My anxiety contributes to my depression as well. I often need validation from everyone I'm with, or else I feel like they hate me, and I end up constantly overworking myself in everything I do in an attempt to be the perfect person I think I have to be. I try to cope in many different ways, art included. Although I'm somewhat okay with talking about my mental health, I do not feel comfortable talking too much about it, as many people I know will see this video. A good friend of mine volunteered to talk about how he deals with his depression.
Alright, hi. My name is Chet. And my age is 16. And I suffer from depression, anxiety, and ADD. And I guess I'm pretty lucky because of having caring parents and people that are willing to do stuff. Some people aren't that lucky, so you gotta, if you truly want to help yourself, you gotta be like, I'm gonna get help no matter what. You gotta find those coping skills. It's like one of the main things. What other coping skills do I have? Talking. And that's a big one. Talking to people. I like to talk to people. Especially when I'm in control of what the topics are and stuff. It's just and I get to talk about what I'm comfortable with, and then it's just soothing for me. You just need supportive people in your life. If you want to get through it, then hopefully from that support you're gonna want help, and then you're gonna seek that help. Alright.
Talking openly about how your mental health affects you is really important, and if comfortable, I'd love to hear you talk about how mental health affects you in the comments below. It's totally fine if you don't feel comfortable enough yet. these things take time. You sometimes can't tell if someone is struggling or not, and if you or a loved one is suffering from depression, you should find help. It's essential for anyone with depression or anxiety to find the help they need in therapy or something else. And to conclude this video, I would like to say, if you're watching this and you have anxiety and/or depression, please remember, you are loved and you are valid. Have a good day.
I know you so well, and I can do anything he can. I've been pretty patient, I've been pretty baby, oh.